It's a battle for the Columbias. I'm Jacob Siciliano with the Tiger Kickoff Show. We're breaking down South Carolina, and joining us is our wonderful Columbia, Missourian beat reporters in Quentin Corpule, Zach Sweet, Chase Jeems. Guys, last week, South Carolina ranked number 11. They lose to Vanderbilt. They fall out of the AP poll. What are our immediate reactions to South Carolina?
South Carolina, I think, has a lot of holes that Mizzou can exploit this coming Saturday, especially along the line, especially the offensive line. They have not looked particularly good. We're going to wait to talk about LaNorris Sellers in depth in a little bit, but he has masked a lot of South Carolina's issues on offense, especially up front.
I mean, this is going to be a fun one. South Carolina and Missouri, two teams on completely different trajectories right now. The Mayor's Cup is on the line. South Carolina, though, came into last week ranked 11th in the country and fell out of the rankings. And you talk about a team like Missouri who was unranked coming into the year, completely surging through 3 weeks. So two teams that, I mean, I was shocked when the point spread was 13.5 points when it came out on Monday. That was crazy to me. But if you look at the trajectories of both teams and if Sellers is going to play or not, it kind of makes sense. Missouri might win this game, might be dominant.
Yeah, it's not as big of you could maybe say it's not as big of a big stakes game. If like South Carolina came in here number 11, that would have been a huge deal. But it's still a big deal because SEC play opens here. This is the first real big opponent. I think Kansas was. We'll talk a little bit about how Drinkwitz kind of uses this as a first big test. I think Kansas was a little bit of a test, but it is a different ball game when you're playing in the SEC.
Okay, so speaking about a test, they were 11. They fall out of the poll. People thought South Carolina was going to be a big opponent. Are they still the same quality of opponent?
I think they've underwent a few different issues that maybe people did not expect out of them already. I mean, Sellers, we'll get more into that obviously, but I think so far, even with the injury, I don't think he was playing up to par that people thought that he would have originally. But I still think they're about the opponent you want, and this is a big, important win for Missouri to get, especially if they want to roll in when Alabama gets here and be undefeated.
Any change in SEC play?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a shift. You go from playing the ranks of Louisiana and Central Arkansas, and I know Kansas is a better team than those two, but you play 3 non-conference games and all of a sudden SEC play starts, all of a sudden it means a little bit more. And I mean, no pun intended there. No pun intended. It does mean more though. I mean, all of a sudden your conference record is vastly more important than what you do in the non-conference, and South Carolina has some dudes and some quality dudes that are to par with Missouri.
Quinn?
Yeah, I just think for as good as some of South Carolina's players are, Sellers on offense, Stewart on defense, even a guy like Fred Johnson at linebacker, they just have so many holes, and Vanderbilt exploited them last week. Even when Sellers was still in the game, they had 7 points at the 2-minute warning and looked non-functional in the second half.
Well, you heard our thoughts. Here's what Eli Drinkwitz has to think about South Carolina.
Our guys understand the significance of playing in the SEC. They understand that the level of competition raises, the importance of all the little things rises. They understand the importance of being 1-0, this week. I don't really think we have to hammer that or say that. I think that's been the enhanced growth of the program over the last 3 years. It's a SEC night game. We've only had 3 since 2021, while others in the league have had way more than that. It's an awesome opportunity for us to take advantage of that. But the reality of it is the separations and the preparation you put in this week, and the most important thing we can control is have toughness Tuesday, not trying to play on emotions on Saturday.
Preparation's important, which is why the Tigers are studying for their first SEC test. Here's our study guy. Guys, what does Missouri need to study for?
LaNorris Sellers covers up a lot of those issues up front for South Carolina with his ability to shake off would-be tacklers and pick up yards with his legs. It happened a lot against Virginia Tech, and it happened a lot against South Carolina State. That's South Carolina's get-out-of-jail-free card, especially on 3rd and long, which they have faced a lot so far this season.
I mean, we've talked about it for weeks, guys, that Missouri secondary hasn't really been tested yet. And when it was against Kansas, there were holes. There were gaping holes. Wide receivers were open, missed passes. Nick Harbor is going to test him this week. Nick Harbor is a guy who can get behind your defense, get behind him quickly, and he's going to be a real test for the cornerbacks this week for Missouri. I'm really excited to see how the secondary looks against an opponent that's up to par with them.
Yeah, we talked about like how Mizzou defends dual threat quarterbacks. Well, you're getting probably the best of the bunch with Sellers, so this is going to be a really challenging opponent for Missouri in this sense. Sellers could do a lot of damage to this defense.
Last year, Quentin Sellers threw for 353 yards and 5 touchdowns in the game that ended the Tigers' hunt for the college football playoff. Are we going to see the same Sellers or something different this year, if he plays?
It's just like, I don't know if they have the type of playmakers that they did last year. Nick Harbor's obviously still there, has had a couple of explosive plays already this year, including that touchdown against Virginia Tech where he got over the top of the defense. But I just think Sellers has had to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I'm not sure South Carolina's pass catchers outside of Nick Harbor are exactly up to par. I think Mazeo Bennett is fine. He should probably play. But outside of Harbor, I haven't really seen too much that would really strike fear into me, like South Carolina had last year, even at tight end with somebody like Joshua Simon, who I believe caught a touchdown in the game last year. And so I think Sellers can be as good as he was, but maybe not the receiving core.
So then what are the big differences for you, Sweet, between last year's South Carolina team playing Missouri and this year's South Carolina team?
I'm glad you asked that because I was just about to touch on it, but the home field advantage is huge. I mean, going to South Carolina is not an easy environment. Night game there, night game here. Furrow Field, 13 wins in a row for Missouri at home. I think that really is the difference. They're coming to Missouri's place. Eli Drinkwitz has a bitter taste in his mouth for the way that game ended because Missouri wins that game last year. They're looking at 10-2 and potentially college football playoff berth. So I'm really excited to see how Missouri comes out at home because I think that's the biggest difference in this game.
Yeah, and with Sellers too, I mean, they say he's healthy, but I still think there is a bit of concern with that injury and only having a week to recover from that. So I don't know. He might not be 100% when Missouri takes the field, and I think if he's not 100%, that offense starts to look a little iffy, and I think Mizzou can exploit that.
Well, we're still not sure if Sellers is going to play quarterback, but there's one guy who really thinks he is.
I anticipate LaNorris to play. Doty's played a quarterback, another guy that's played a lot of college football. We've played against him before. I remember recruiting Luke out of Myrtle Beach High School when I was at NC State. Really good player, but I don't think their scheme's going to change any. He's not LaNorris, but he's a very good and capable player. So, for us, there's not two stylistic differences in the way that quarterback position is going to be played. So for us, we're going to anticipate that LaNorris will play, and then we'll adjust if he does not.
Both quarterbacks present really good, movement outside the pocket, making things happen. So I think it's all about just making sure that we kind of contain and make sure, we just tone in our defense and on the details and just make sure everybody on the field does their job.
Sellers can be an absolute game wrecker. Again, preseason All-American. He torched the Tigers last year. Will he play? And if he does play, what will that look like for the Tigers?
I think he will probably play, and should he, on Saturday, it's going to be about containing him. They were unable to last year, especially late. Johnny Walker, we had him dead to rights, and LaNorris Sellers shook free, found an open receiver for a first down, and Rocket Sanders scored the game-winning touchdown. It's going to be about how they can contain him outside of the pocket because that's where Sellers has made a lot of his money, both last year and this year as well.
I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda made that tackle, but this is a guy who threw for 2,500 yards, over 2,500 yards last year, ran for over 670, and had 25 touchdowns. Not to mention he was a redshirt freshman. I mean, expectations on him coming into this game are going to be a little bit different given the head injury and the nature of that. But from reports from Pete Thamel yesterday, he practiced. In what capacity, we don't know. But anyone who's practicing on Wednesday, I'd expect him to be out there on Saturday. But it'll be interesting to see if he gets cleared, and if he does, he's definitely a difference maker.
Yeah, and when Drinkwitz originally said how confident he was that Sellers was going to play, I did see a lot of discussion on Twitter going back to last year with A&M, how he was prepared for Marcel Reed, Connor Weigman was hurt, and then he came in and played. And we know what happened there. It was like a 41-10 loss. So, but I think the circumstances are a little bit different here. I don't think that Doty is, for one, Doty and Sellers are a little bit different play styles compared to, they're more of the same than what Reed and Weigman were. And I think Doty, I'm not sure he's as big of a threat as either Reed or Weigman were last year. So very different circumstances in that situation.
What about you, Sweet? 6th-year quarterback Luke Doty, is he a threat?
No,
if he plays?
he's not a threat. I mean, Drinkwitz can say he's a threat, but there's levels to this, and Sellers and Doty are two completely different quarterbacks. Well, Doty wasn't even a quarterback. He's been a quarterback and then a receiver and then a quarterback, and he's really a guy that you're going to plug in there, and if he is out there, you can expect a lot of the short passing game and getting outside the pocket, and he likes to make plays happen with his feet just the same way Sellers does. But with Sellers out there, that deep threat and neutralizing them all of a sudden becomes much more challenging if Sellers plays. Doty, to me, isn't the same threat that Sellers will be if Sellers plays on Saturday.
Why do you think he's not the same threat, Quentin?
Well, I mean, Doty can scoot, but LaNorris Sellers is a one of one. I don't think you can compare him to any other college quarterback just because he's in that similar stratosphere of somebody like Cam Newton, who we saw at Auburn, who we saw with the Carolina Panthers as a linebacker physically, who also happened to play quarterback and could create with his legs and his arm at an exceptionally high level.
Yeah, Quentin. Sellers is the type of player that really gives a team an advantage. We're going to talk about some of those advantages in our newest segment, Elite Edge. Welcome into Elite Edge. This is where we identify one position group for both Missouri and South Carolina that has a significant advantage and can make or break the game. Starting with you, Quentin, what is your Elite Edge for South Carolina?
South Carolina, outside of quarterback, I think they have an excellent edge rusher. Funny enough, in Dylan Stewart, who is a game wrecker on the defensive side of the ball. You have to plan for him. You have to know where he is at all times. He is that type of player. He was a game wrecker last year as a freshman, and he has looked really good through 2 games so far. And so I think that matchup with Caden Green is something I'm going to be watching very closely on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what Rasul Faison does for South Carolina, the running back. I think that he could create issues for Missouri's defense. You know what I will say, though, is Missouri's defensive front has looked really good in 3 games against the run. So that matchup with Faison, he's his 7th year, I believe, 7th year?
Yeah,
he
transferred in college before COVID.
He's benefiting from the Diego Pavia extra year of eligibility rule right now.
Diego Pavia rule.
The Diego Pavia rule.
South Carolina.
Correct, but he's transferred from Utah State, and he's really emerged the first 3 weeks as the running back for South Carolina. I'm excited to see what Faison does.
Yeah, I'm going to mention the linebacker, Fred Johnson. He's already picked up 15 tackles on the year as well as a sack. He's going to be up the middle. I think while he could also get to Bo Pribula and get sacks, he could also disrupt the middle with Ahmad Hardy. And especially with Stewart, I think you're going to try to run on the opposite side of those guys. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a big player in this game.
Your edge was the edge for South Carolina. What's your edge for Missouri?
I'm going to stick with the entire defensive line. That South Carolina offensive line has had a ton of problems, especially on early downs, which is why they've really struggled on 3rd down, is because it's not 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3. It's like 3rd and 11 and 12. And Sellers has been there, as I said earlier, get out of jail free card oftentimes. And so I think people like Damon Wilson II, who has 3 sacks already, Zion Young, who's had a lot of power off the edge, and then Josiah Trotter, who Chris McClellan called a quote-unquote freaking missile in the run game, leads the team with 5 TFLs. I think they're going to make a living in the South Carolina backfield, and I think that's where Mizzou can gain a huge advantage over South Carolina.
I mean, I think it's a chalky answer, but if Missouri does what they did last week, any resemblance of that last week with the run game, you run for 427 yards against a team, and I'm interested to see how they follow it up against tougher competition with South Carolina. But Ahmad Hardy is going to be the workhorse, of course, Jamal Roberts, and then I honestly think Marquise Davis might have earned himself some touches in this game, and I think the tandem of those 3 running backs is definitely an area for Missouri to exploit South Carolina's defense.
I think the Missouri offensive line has its hands full with the defensive line of South Carolina, but I do think they're going to be really important in this game. They're going to need to stop Stewart from getting to Pribula. And I think you're beginning to see improvements with them, especially a guy like Keegan Truss. Caden Green's been excellent. So I think they're going to be really important in protecting Bo and letting him work in the pass game.
And I'll tell you what gives Coach Drink an edge. It's trophy games. Coach Drinkwitz has been fantastic in games where a trophy's on the line. 4 Mayor's Cups, 4 Battle Line trophies, a Wardrum, a Cotton Bowl, and a Music City Bowl trophy. So much success for Drinkwitz in trophy games. But it's not all bad blood. The quarterbacks are boys.
Yeah, I met him at the Manning Passing Academy. He's a great dude. We got to talk a little bit about the game between Mizzou and them last year at their place, and how we were both looking forward to this one this year. And he's a great dude, like I said, and he's an even better player too. So.
We got to contain that guy. Not only him, they got pretty good wide receivers as well. Good running back. He's been in college 7 years, so that comes with a lot of experience. So I feel like contain that guy, we go get him, we'll be all right. We'll be pretty smooth.
All right, you heard from Zion there about what the Tigers need to do to bring that Mayor's Cup back to Como. How do the Tigers win this game?
I think do what Virginia Tech, South Carolina State, and Vanderbilt all did, which was keep South Carolina behind the sticks. Their offense reminds me a lot of Mizzou, our freshman year, 2022, where they would have too many plays on first and second down that would gain either 0 or negative yards. So by the time they got to third down, it was really tough sledding, and that's exactly what's happened to South Carolina this year. Mizzou has done an awesome job getting to those third and longs on defense and then swallowing up the opposing offense. I think that can absolutely happen on Saturday.
I think it's going to be really important for Missouri to set the tone early, something they've done extremely well through 3 weeks. 3 games, 3 opening drive touchdowns. Kirby Moore has done an excellent job scripting that opening drive, and I think that should be an emphasis again for South Carolina. You want to set the tone early. It's a rivalry game. The way last year went, it's super important for Missouri to get a fast start, and I think that starts on the opening sequence. Get Bo Prabula loose, let Ahmad Hardy do his thing, and go find the end zone on the opening drive and set the tone.
I think a lot of times the Missouri defense struggles to find ways to stop explosive runs, and especially when you're playing a guy like Sellers, that's going to happen a good amount. Like, there's a good chance for that to happen. So they really have to limit those explosive plays and try to find any way they can to create turnovers.
It's a big game for the Tigers in the SEC opener. Our guy who played Missouri football for 2 seasons, won a Cotton Bowl, and now just hits the books and the tape, Tyson Ellison. He breaks it down on how the Tigers can beat the Gamecocks.
Yeah, go ahead. Get a good look at it. That's the Mayor's Cup, the trophy my team won in 2023. South Carolina's taken something very valuable from Mizzou. That's why now they're in the hole. It's also because none of their big 3 played in a full SEC game yet. You saw South Carolina fall apart against Vanderbilt. So if you're Mizzou, you have to neutralize these 3 players to be able to win this weekend. Starting with Dylan Stewart, the defensive end. He's a great pass rusher. His defense, not so great at stopping the run. Last week we talked about how to run a perfect zone run scheme. This is a teach tape on how not to defend that. You'll see the linebacker, he's going to come down on a blitz. He turns himself into a level 1 player. That's any player at the line of scrimmage. We call that level 1. Now he's walled off by this offensive guard. That's going to take anybody on this side of the defensive line out of the play. They simply can't get to the running back now. There's one defender at level 2, but now he is going to follow the quarterback instead of the run. There's nobody to fill that gap. So you only had one level 2 player to begin with, that middle linebacker. Now you're looking all the way up to level 3, and that's a great block by this wide receiver to neutralize that. Now he takes a bad angle. Dylan Stewart's out of the play. Touchdown, Vanderbilt. This team's not going to be able to stop the run against Mizzou if they couldn't stop Vanderbilt. Another way you can neutralize Dylan Stewart is with the counter play. You're literally going to grab and pull this side of the offensive line down to kick out this defender. You'll see how it plays out here. Offensive lineman, his job is just to wall off Dylan Stewart and create a hole for the running back now to run through. Dylan Stewart's been taken out of the play. He's done for, and that's a free first down for the Vanderbilt offense. Now, running the ball was not a strength for South Carolina either. That's because Sellers wasn't in the game. This offense was one-dimensional. So on 4th and 1, Vanderbilt sends everybody to stop the run. Real ball fans, though, you want Sellers to play in this game because you want to see the competition. So here's his greatest weapon, is Nick Harbor, number 8. You'll see him run these stop routes. That means he's going to run upfield and literally stop in between zones. He's really great at finding the open field, so even a backup quarterback can make that throw. It's an easy catch and an easy first down. You have to stop him the same way you stop LaNorris Sellers. That's by pressure in the backfield. However, this guy is very athletic. He will not be tackled. In 99% of games, this is a sack. Against LaNorris Sellers, it's simply an opportunity to escape the pocket and get that first down. See, it's 3rd down and 10 now, and he's past the sticks way beyond the first down line. So you have to cage him the same way you did against Jalen Daniels. What does that look like? You're gonna have 3 defenders. where you're going to have upfield shoulder, middle so he can't escape the pocket. And now, one of the most athletic players in college football is stuck in the backfield for safety. That's defensive points. Those are going to be incredibly valuable in this game. Also, you can stop Sellers by showing him something he hasn't seen before. He's a young quarterback. He's only a sophomore. Despite all those athletic traits, he hasn't seen every defensive coverage. Here, the linebacker has outside leverage on an in-breaking route by the running back. That means he's going towards the middle of the field. Sellers thinks he has an easy target. Instead, this defensive tackle drops into coverage for an interception. He just confused the eyes of the quarterback, and it's so unfortunate because if you look down the field, this is a one-on-one wide open touchdown. But Sellers thought he had something wide open shorter, wanted to take the easy option. Instead, it begins the teardown, the meltdown of South Carolina's sideline. They couldn't figure anything out for that second half, and you could see the entire sideline begin to get frustrated. 3 more turnovers after the second half began, and it's going to be really hard to run a team when you're stuck because of these 2 players. Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts are going to have a game. It's going to be at Faroe Field. They run this jail yard, and South Carolina might possibly remain in the hole. Jacob, back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Tyson, and I hope you guys were listening because here we go again. It's take it to the grave. Yesterday was a long day of pain and misery for us 3 because Quentin somehow keeps landing on safe, but we had to go through some pretty terrible punishments, and it's time for you guys to see them. Chase, you gave us a spicy take.
I did.
Now it's time to feel the heat. Habanero, jalapeno, have fun.
I'm not great with spicy food. I'm not excited for this at all.
I just go quick, rip the Band-Aid off. Oh, like a champ. I see you, champ. I see you, champ. It's gonna be hot.
It's a hot one. That's
The opposite of last week. That is not cold.
I'm never getting this wrong again. I'm not doing this again.
I can smell the spice.
Chase still can't talk from all those peppers, so I have to do this intro. Watch the Tiger Kickoff Show.
Things we do for the Tiger Kickoff Show.
All right, boys.
Oh boy.
Oh my
Oh goodness gracious, this is weird.
Hey, I'm good. I'm clean. Yeah, that's nice.
All over the logo.
Shout out Mizzou J School. You do some crazy things. I don't know about you, Zach, but green is not my color per se, and that walk back to my car driving covered in slime was not one of the more enjoyable experiences of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I walked back through the columns shirtless. I mean, the amount of looks that I got, you wouldn't even believe. People were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, this is just a Tiger Kickoff Show. Go watch the video.
I don't even know. Chase was as red as a tomato from eating all his red chilies.
I think I made the right play by eating both at the same time, but for hours, I just felt like a fire in my stomach, and I smelt like jalapeno for hours. So I don't want to do that one again, man.
Well, yeah, hopefully none of us have to go through any of that again, except maybe Quentin, because he deserves it at this point.
Honestly.
So let's make our picks for this week, starting with this guy here, and I'm praying on your downfall.
Whoa, all right. Relax, man. Well, I think I'm going to be a little tamer because none of us have gotten anything correct, so I think we should all be a little more tame. I'm going to go with Damon Wilson II to record at least 1 sack. He already has 3 this year, 9 QB pressures according to PFF, and I think South Carolina, who has allowed Hokies, Bulldogs, and Commodores in their backfield through these first 3 games, I think the Tigers are going to join that party.
Those 3 are tied for most in the SEC. What's yours, Zach?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I'm just happy that I can actually see some player prop lines, unlike last week and the week before, so we don't have to make up our own.
We're not Vegas.
Correct. We are not.
They're
We
the
certainly are
experts
not
for a reason.
Vegas. So Tyson did a great job breaking it down, but I think Ahmad Hardy is just going to have a field day against South Carolina's run defense. I think while Dylan Stewart and while they have players on defense who are I just think that Ahmad Hardy gets the ground game going early, and I mean, he had 250 yards last week. His line is 90.5 this week. I'm going to go over 90.5 rushing yards for Ahmad Hardy.
Just a reminder on Hardy, 462 rushing yards in the entire season so far. That's second most in all of college football and most in the SEC. Chase?
I'm going to try to go a little easier too, but I'm complicating things with an and in there. But I'm going to say Bo Pubula, he's going to go over 230.5 passing yards and 1.5 passing touchdowns. That was Caesars?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the line there. I'm going to go over on both.
Quentin, quickly just on Bo Pribula, his performance.
From this past Saturday?
Yes.
I thought he started out really efficient, then had 2 really poor decisions with an almost interception and then an actual interception. But I thought for the most part he played pretty well. Definitely not as well through the first 2 games.
Yeah, I think for myself, I've got, the safe option, right, is Kevin Coleman, 6 receptions for the safe option for Bo Pribula. That's the guy he always looks for on 4th down. I think there is some pressure with this being the first SEC game against a South Carolina team that is a good squad. Like, there is going to be a challenge here. They're going to find the bread and butter, and that's Kevin Coleman. So I got 6 receptions for him and take it to the grave. The Battle of the Columbias. Columbia, South Carolina, Columbia, Missouri, back and forth. We're going to have a little fun on the Tiger Kickoff Show. And again, we get to call which Columbia, because there's only room for one Columbia in this conference. All right, Quentin, you are the expert of the MU-KU rivalry.
Okay.
And you know better than anybody that Lawrence was burned down during the Civil War. But which Columbia was also burned in the conflict?
I'm going South Carolina, especially because the first shots of the Civil War were fired at Fort Sumter, which is right outside of Charleston.
That is correct. Sherman drove his army and burned the town down. Moving on. Which Columbia school has had bleachers made of wood until the 1950s?
I mean, I'm going to go with Columbia, South Carolina.
That would be incorrect. That was actually Columbia, Missouri.
What was Don Furrow doing back then?
I don't, sitting on wood and getting splinters, apparently.
I have no idea.
Chase.
Okay.
Which Columbia, both these towns are big barbecue towns, but which Columbia town uses mustard historically as a base in its barbecue sauce?
Columbia, South Carolina.
That would be correct. So Columbia, South Carolina. And now this question is for all of you guys. Which Columbia is going to take home the Mayor's Cup?
I've got Mizzou 35-24. Carolina hasn't won at Mizzou since 2017, and I think that streak is going to continue this year.
Yeah, I got Mizzou winning 38-30. I think that LaNorris Sellers and Nick Harbor are going to get theirs, but so is Missouri's offense with Bo Pribula and Kevin Coleman and Ahmad Hardy. I just expect a lot of points in this game.
I'm also going to go with Mizzou. I'm going to say 31-20. I think this home streak is not going to end here. I think Mizzou's got this as long as they do everything right that they've been doing the last 3 weeks.
They're doing a lot of things right, and that's why I'm piggybacking to the guy that's usually right. It's Quentin. I also have the Tigers 35-24. All right, so we all got the Tigers winning. That's a good thing. We'll see if they actually execute that on Saturday and return the Mayor's Cup to Columbia, Missouri. After that game, we'll have a full review coming up on Monday. In the meantime, you can catch us on socials at Tiger Kickoff Show, anywhere you get social media. And we want to thank these wonderful beat reporters for taking the time today. And again, Quentin Corpiel, Zach Sweet, Chase James, I'm Jacob Siciliano. Thank you guys for watching the Tiger Kickoff Show.